Okay, so I think it's live on Facebook. Let's check. So what you do, Klaus, you have the ability to basically like watch it on Facebook or watch it like we're doing it like this, and then
all right,
you probably can see the people's comments coming up. So just keep an eye on that, and if you miss it, like if there are questions I can ask you. So let me just look at Facebook quickly.
Yeah, I might just do that also.
And another thing, if you want, it's up to you, but have you got your phone on hand?
Yeah.
So if you do it basically over 2 platforms, so we can do Instagram live at the same time, because not everybody's on both, or you just, what do you think? Is that too messy?
Yeah, I don't know. You want me to, so what do you think? What do you want me to do with the phone?
So what you do, for instance, if you go, like I've got my phone in front of me, so if you go on Instagram, basically what I do is I click, I go live right now, and then you just go on my page and you start watching, and I'm going to add you on that. So basically people can see on either, because some people are not on both.
Got it.
So if I start, let's see, if I do stories, I go live. Okay, so I can see you on Facebook, which is good.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna type. So I'm just gonna type a comment in there. Okay. So now, so Klaus, on Insta, I'm gonna basically add you, just like I guess you did with Darren. There we go, man.
Yeah, you just have to mute.
So I guess you would have to probably turn the volume down a little. Let me just see what I got here. Morning, Christine. How are we doing? Okay, so just give me a second. So Klaus, what you want to do probably, if you're watching on StreamYard, because we can see all the comments, you want to turn your sound on mute on the Facebook video. Make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So you just mute.
So StreamYard, I have to turn the sound off, right?
No, well, on that one, so just click mute on the bottom right of the box. Just mute that video, because StreamYard is the one you're streaming from, so that one needs to be on. What's that? So now your volume is way too low. Colin's already giving you stick. Colin, did you just get out of bed or what? So how's that? So the thing is, Klaus, I'm gonna unmute you here, because I need you on StreamYard to be, so you got to unmute yourself on StreamYard. Yeah,
I've done that. You know what? I'll do it like this, and I'll leave this one here. How's that? Is that better?
So basically, the Facebook one is 100%. It's the one on Instagram that makes funny noises. So we just.
You know what? I'm actually just gonna. I think I'm gonna switch. No, I can't do that. I just can't. The best thing would be to mute the Instagram.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone can hear us. So guys on Instagram, can you hear us? Can anybody give us a thumbs up on Instagram if you can hear us? Can you hear us? Okay, they can hear us even though my volume's on mute. So Klaus, mute your volume completely on your phone.
Yeah, I tried to do that. For some reason, it won't do it.
There we go. That's good.
No,
Nice.
definitely not good. I don't know why I can't root the phone.
Well, you know what? We can just do the Facebook Live one because they all know now that we're live, so they can come onto Facebook if we can't figure it out.
Yeah.
I just hear like a beeping sound from your side.
Exactly, I get that too. All right. Like that.
Okay. There we go. It's still a little one, but I guess terrible, right?
That's it. All right, there we go.
Colin's like, mute the interviewer. We got Frank there, we got Colin, we got Linda. So everybody can hear us clearly, yeah? If so, give us a thumbs up.
Colin, the only thing I can say, Colin, if it gets as bad as yours with the technical side, then
we've already improved. It couldn't get as bad. Alexi says that he can hear us. So welcome everybody. This is like part 3 of the impromptu series. Be my guest. This one is entitled Happy Hour, and I have my adult beverage. I don't know if Klaus has got anything. Oh, very nice. Klaus, what are we drinking? French. I bet if I know you.
No, not French. Actually, it's a Spanish. Palacios. Quite young, but really, really, really nice.
Very nice. Is it a blend or what is it?
It's a blend.
So if anybody knows Klaus is he's really into his wine and adult beverages, and so am I. As you can see, I've got the lineup waiting for you when you get here.
The lineup, yeah.
So this is at the restaurant. So we basically do the South African wines, and they're all vegan and they're all amazing. So anyway, they're waiting for you. So yeah, everybody, thanks for Frank says it's not the first time you've upstaged someone. So thanks everybody for joining. It's the third little series, Happy Hour with Klaus. We've had Colin James on, who Klaus will tell you a lot of good and bad things, I'm sure, about. We've also had Wendy Johnson, and at the end we'll talk about who's coming on. Klaus right now is in Hong Kong. It's about 11 to 18 past 11 at night. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's US Eastern time. It's 12 hours difference, so it's just after 11 a.m. my time. Klaus is a great guy. We really love him. He's got some family in Charlotte, which you'll learn about later. And we always look forward to having him here. It's always a good laugh, good fun, and of course, great lessons. It's been a while since he came. We tried to organize it, but due to the lockdown and all these travel bans and whatnot, we just couldn't make it happen. But it's going to happen. So we're hoping for a great show. As you all know, I just like it to be real, from the heart, casual conversation, a couple of interesting questions, challenging ones, thought-provoking ones, weird ones, and fun ones, and a little quick fire at the end. And it's just really all these people who we work with and have as friends and mentors and role models and competitors and whatnot. So Klaus, how's it going in Hong Kong? I mean, first of all, you guys had the protests and the riots and everything, and now like wham bam Corona. So could you give us just a little sort of like synopsis of how it's been?
Well, I think it's been a really hard year for Hong Kong. You know, first with the protests, and that was very tough, also for the dancing business, but generally for the population. And then we were just about. They were just about dying down the protests, and then coronavirus hit much earlier here than in Europe and in the US. And I must say, not nearly as bad here as in as overseas. We had because I think with SARS and the situation a few years ago, the Hong Kong population was very quick. The minute that there was a risk of a virus, people were straight away put the face mask on. Sanitizing of the buildings is incredible. You know, everywhere you go, the lifts are being sanitized every 2 hours, and even the buttons in the lift. So in our apartment building, everything is sanitized every 2 hours. And because of that, the spread was really not so wide here. and the city didn't have to go into a full lockdown. For instance, the restaurants are still open here, and actually it was getting much better. And then when the virus hit in Europe and in the US, everybody started coming back. So all the residents that were studying abroad, working abroad, they all came back, and there was a spike in the cases again. So at that point, the government closed down all the studios, the dance studios, and so on. So we also haven't had any dancing here for a long time. So yeah, it's been a tough year for the city. I was just saying my oldest son is in kindergarten, and this year, so since New Year, he's probably had 2 weeks in school, and otherwise everything has been closed.
So it must be really difficult for all the pros and the dancers there, especially with like the riots, protests, and Corona. So I mean, it must be very tough work-wise, right?
Yeah, it's been tough. It's really been tough for everyone, I think. And besides the fact that a lot of them still compete and they can't practice, but they also have work has also been very slow. There's no doubt about that. So, but hopefully by the restrictions are about to finish on the 8th of May, and it does look like the government will open up. So we're all kind of gearing up to come out of hibernation by the 8th of May.
And Klaus, tell us a little bit. You mentioned your family. So for those of you that don't know, tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, I have 2 sons. Marcus, the youngest one, who just turned 2 days ago, actually. And Alexander will be 4 now in May. We obviously plan things very badly because they're both born in the normally the busiest time of the year, which is that lead up to Blackpool. So, but this year, at least for sure, I'll be home for both their birthdays.
And where were they born?
Alexander was born in London, and Marcus was born here in Hong Kong.
So they're truly international. So it'll be interesting when they get older. Are they Danish? Are they Lithuanian?
Yeah, well, I mean, my wife was born in Lithuania to a Russian father and Ukrainian mother, and is a Canadian citizen. So, yeah. We were saying it the other day, when we fill out the papers, the landing papers for when we fly, not one of the 4 of us were born in the same place. And we're all born in different places.
That's crazy. And Klaus, so obviously you're Danish. We all know that. Where exactly in Denmark are you from?
I'm from a little city called Esbjerg on the west coast of Denmark. Only about 90,000 people there.
Okay. And so with your parents, like, what did your parents do, like, work-wise when you were growing up?
My father had his own company. He exported fish, seafood to all of Europe. And so when I was young, I used to work for him. It was always quite fun because, I mean, as you can imagine, sort of in this preparation of seafood, some pretty, let's say, rough and tough people that work in that sort of industry. And I always used to laugh, I'd get up at 6 o'clock in the morning in the summer and go and help Dad and work with these guys. And then at 3 o'clock, I'd go take a shower. And then, an hour after that, I was in a shirt and tie doing ballroom.
And what about your mom? Did she work?
My mom worked in my father's company also. She was the accountant in the company.
And any siblings?
Yes, I have a younger sister and a younger brother. Both of them also danced. My sister was very successful as a child. She was she came second in junior at Blackpool and 4th in the junior Blackpool. She won the Danish championship. I don't know how many times.
Did you ever dance together?
No, well, only when we were very, very small, like when we were like 3 years old or something like that.
And how come you were the one who kind of took things further and not them? How did that happen?
I honestly think my sister it was just a little bit unlucky, She danced with the same partner for all through the category. So she started dancing when she was 2, and she had the same partner until she was 18 and 19. Mm-hmm. And but by that time he was about 1.86 m, and she was only 1.60 m. So it just really didn't work out in the end. And after that, she tried a couple of times, but she couldn't really find a partner where things really worked. So in the end, she gave up.
And are they both in Denmark?
They're both in Denmark, yes.
Okay. And so how exactly did you start dancing? Was it just like etiquette kind of lessons at the local dance school, or how was it?
I think at that time in Denmark, a lot of children danced, you know. It was a very normal thing that you send your child to dance school. But actually, I started because my grandmother used to be a dance teacher. So when I was 2 years old, she said to my mom, "Okay, it's time now. He can start dancing." And then we danced once a week, you know, in a group class, and it would be kind of a family day. So my grandmother would come as well, and she'd be with my mom watching. And then we finished, we go to my grandmother's house and have coffee and cake. And so it became like a family day. That's pretty much how I started.
Oh, nice. And so, like, how did things get serious for you? Like, when did you decide that, okay, this was something serious? Were you a successful juvenile competitor? Like,
no, I wasn't really very successful in those stages. You know, I did all kinds of sports. I played football, in the US, soccer. I played tennis. I swam competitively. I played badminton. I love sports, so I did everything. And I think the only reason why I carried on with dancing longer than the other ones was I had the best friends in dancing. We had a fantastic atmosphere in the dance school that I went to. You know, we did all these bus trips to all the competitions in Denmark, but also to England for competitions, and so there was a really, really great group of kids. You know, we would see each other all the time, weekends and so on. So I think that's why I just carried on. And when I was 16, we got invited to join it's called the Team Denmark camps. I still remember my partner at that time. She decided that she couldn't come to this camp because she wanted to plan her last day of school, and that's when I thought, no, I think I need to find somebody who's a bit more serious. And from then on, I started dancing with a girl called Mette, and that was much more serious from then on.
And then after Mette was Victoria.
Victoria, yes. So I danced with Mette for 4 years, I think, and we won the Worlds under 19, and moved to London, and then it didn't work out, and then I'd been to Blackpool, and I'd seen this girl in the practices in Semley before Blackpool, and I didn't really know her name or anything about her, but I just thought, no, I really want to dance with her, and she in Blackpool split with her partner and actually started dancing with Richard Porter.
Okay.
And then when that didn't work out with Richard either, she then actually called me, and that's how it was. So I remember I said to Lena James, this is the only person I can imagine myself dancing with. And she said, well, if that's the case, why don't you just take a couple of months off and then see what happens, you know? And then actually Victoria called me. So that was quite nice.
Wow. So how many partners have you had in your career?
Well, since I was 2, I've had 4 partners.
Wow.
I think 2 to 16, and then, well, really only 3 actually. I had a girl that I danced with 1 year from 2 to 3. I don't think we can count that. So let's say I had 3 partners in the competitive career.
Were you actually living in London, or were you just going back and forth from Denmark?
I lived in London. Also, when I started dancing in Victoria, we lived in London for 4 years first before we moved back to Denmark.
So during your time in London, like obviously practicing at the assembly, having exposure to a lot of great teachers, would you say there was someone there that sort of like shaped your path or your career, or not really? You kind of knew from the beginning?
No, I think there wasn't just one, but I think there was a few that shaped it. The reason why I wanted to become a dancer was because of Alan Tornsberg and Vibeke Toft. I just loved the way they danced. You know, at that time when I was a young teenager, I could sit and watch them for hours. And they did a program on Danish TV where the TV followed them for some months leading up to the World Championships. And I think I watched that program like 25 times. I even remember even all the lines from it because they were filming them in practice and they were kind of arguing in practice, and I still remember all the lines from this from this thing.
Yeah.
So I think that was the biggest sort of influence at that time. But then later on, I think that both Connie and Lena really helped to shape the way I think. I often say that, you know, Lena is the voice in my head. You know, she's always the one, you know, and what's the timing?
Keeping everybody in check, right?
I mean, you know, I'm very happy. I wouldn't say that we had a lot of teachers, but I think I've been really fortunate to experience working with some of these amazing teachers. You know, the fact that I was still able to have lessons with Walter Laird before he passed away, and you know, I think that there was just a lot of there's a lot of amazing people, and still are in our industry, that, you know, really fantastic teachers.
So what was it like, the lessons with Wally? Because obviously you must have been quite young and he must have been quite old, right, at that stage.
Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. You know, there's a lot of memories from it, but I think my strongest memory is from the very first lesson, because Wally used to teach in a Polish club in Balham, and I remember we had to walk through the whole club. It's kind of a dark place, not particularly nice, but you came into this ballroom, which was very beautiful, and at the bottom of the ballroom there was these sliding doors, and you opened that and there was a little room at the back, and Wally was teaching in there. I still remember when I came for the first lesson, I was so nervous, and we opened the doors, and the lesson before us was Donnie and Gaynor. So I was like, okay. And then they finished their lessons, and Julie Laird, Wally's wife, she had a break. So she sat down with them and they had tea and they watched our first lesson. So I just remember I was absolutely terrified through the whole lesson.
Wow. So okay, you've had a long and very successful career. I remember watching you on those RDSF tapes in '99 and whenever that was, or the early 2000s, let's say, and you know, those days, which was very exciting, being in South Africa and not knowing anything, and you know, then obviously seeing you in London practice at the Assembly and you and Victoria compete and stuff, and then making the final, if I'm not mistaken, in Blackpool. I remember the professional, right? I think you guys were wearing the gunmetal sort of like silver, right?
Yeah.
So for you, and this doesn't have to be, maybe it's not necessarily a result, but like, what for you would you say your biggest accomplishment in your career?
You know, it's a funny thing, because when I look back at it, of course, everybody competes to win. I mean, you're in a competition to win. But now that I look back at it, I don't really remember so much these things about the results. It's more experience, I would say. I remember making the first Blackpool final, which I thought was absolutely that was monumental. Crazy night. And I actually remember because Bill Irvine was a really good friend of ours. You know, whenever we came into the studio, I always remember he used to say to me, "You have to make that final soon. I want to call your name into the final." So when we made that final in Blackpool, you know, we were dancing down. I used to call it the German end in Blackpool. So down the one side.
Yeah.
And I remember at one point I turned around and pretty much we were alone on the whole of that half of the Blackpool floor. It was just us. And I just had that one little flash of realizing what was actually going on, which was just absolutely amazing. And then, you know, we finished the chat here, take a bow, and Bill had this like really charismatic voice, right? And he just went, "Wow." And I turned around, he was looking at me and smiling. I just, you know, I have such a strong memory of that.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting that, like you say, it's not just about a specific result, but more about the experience, right, and the memories that kind of brings back.
I think so.
So looking on the other side, are there any, I mean, we all have in our life and our dancing and whatnot, but is there some like major regret that you have in your dance career, something you wish you'd done, or if you had known, or is there anything you could say that like, was a huge regret of yours?
In many ways not, but you know, I did stop, or, you know, we call it retire, which is a very funny thing, right? Because you retire from dancing. It doesn't mean you're now retired in that sense. Like, it makes me now you have to start working.
Yeah.
So, but I remember that you know, the last year of our amateur career, we were in a very close competition with Ricardo and Joanne at that time, his partner, and it was this sort of a, you know, small little details. We won the Europeans by 1 mark, and they won the Worlds by 1 mark, and it was quite tough actually. It was quite tough, mentally quite tough to stay in that, you know, because on that level every little thing counts, right? So we decided to turn pro. Pretty much we danced the World Championships on the Saturday, and on the Tuesday we danced pro in Brentford for the international. And I remember there was such a liberation feeling of turning professional. I could have been out of this very tight thing, you know, not the you know, okay, if it's 1 mark you're first, or 1 mark you're second.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Just dancing with a lot of freedom, and that 1 year in the professional was really good. And then I started to get a little bit the feeling again of, you know, that I was losing that love that I had for dancing and that sense of it. And so we decided that we were gonna take a break if this was it. And you know, it just happened to be that I never really felt the need to come back. But looking back, for instance, there are certain things that maybe in that, as a professional, I would have liked to spend a little bit more time in the professional field. Actually. But again, it was this feeling of competition or dancing, right? So for instance, we didn't stay long enough in the pro to do a superstar show, which is it would have been nice to have done, you know, because we only had the 1 year in the final, and they didn't have the invitations ready, and but that, I think it's small things. But as such, I had not many regrets.
And then Klaus, so like talking about that, it may or may not be related, because, you know, some people have written in and asked questions, and one of the questions, similar to Colin, I think it was, is that, like, you know, during all the highs and lows in your career, of course, you must have had some low points. Like, you know, what was the lowest point, if any, in your career, and how did you push through? What sort of like gave you the motivation to continue, or you know, carry on, basically?
I think that with everything that we went through, as with anything, there are highs and lows, you know. But you know, you always have to be careful with that, because it's a result, right? It's a dancing result, and although you can be disappointed with it, you have to. It has nothing to do with let's say, the love for dance. So I don't think it was ever really so difficult to get back into it, or get back into the studio. I think Victoria certain times took things harder than I did, for sure. For me, it was like, okay, we had a bad result on Saturday, and on Monday we were back in the studio. You know, sometimes I tried really hard to not associate the results so much with the dancing. For instance, I remember I always tried to see if I could get hold of Lina after the final, before the results, so we could quickly evaluate before the results came out, because it would always affect how you'd seen the comp. If we all agreed that we'd done everything we could, that we danced really well, okay, then there was a result at the end, which was 11 or 13 or 15 people's decision, you know. But I wasn't always so into that I had to change because of what I thought the judges might want. I always felt quite strongly about wanting to do what we wanted to do.
Alexei Karolov says, well, we'll know Victoria about that.
Yeah, no, I definitely think I quite remember some times when I had to like sort of drag her off the sofa after 4 days after a bad result. It's like, okay, that's it. You had your time to be depressed. Come on, let's go.
Mark Ellsbury saying hi. Sheila from South Africa saying hi.
Hi, Sheila.
Frank saying that he met Lena at Sir Ed's. Colin saying, is Lena's voice, is it a voice or a nightmare in your head?
Because I'm not going to answer that. You are in enough trouble with that already.
So Klaus, what in your opinion, what do you think is the biggest challenge for the dancers today? Is there any difference to when you guys were competing, or is it exactly the same, or do you think there are added challenges?
I think that the whole scene has a lot of challenges, you know. We had this major split a few years ago between two federations, and there's a lot of trouble currently in the within everything that's going on. So if we forget the current situation that we're in, which is probably the biggest threat to dancing ever, the fact that we are not allowed to be in the same room, is very difficult to dance then, right? But if we forget about that for a second, then I think that the biggest challenge for the dancers today is that it seems like that. Well, it's a long story, but I feel when I dance, I felt that there were stricter principles within movement and within a certain way that people were expected to move than there is today. I think the variation in, say, the idea of basic action is much bigger today. So I think that the dancers are left with this slightly conflicting information that they have to sort through themselves. Yeah. So if I have to put it down to like really, then I feel that today people are more busy with their preferences than principle very often.
Yeah, so it's much the principles and absolutely.
And I think that's really difficult for the dancers, you know, because at the end of the day, you're being judged by people who also teach and so on, and so this idea of wanting or trying so hard to please everybody is very difficult, I think. So I think that is more. I think there's more of that today than when I danced. People have more teachers also now than when we danced.
So do you think this, because like Wendy and I think maybe even Colin mentioned that, like, you know how everybody says, oh, back in my day and stuff, but you know, it was so much better. Is there a bit of truth in that? Like, you know, in terms of like having more character and not caring what people think and having unique and individual styles. Do you feel that way too?
Yeah, in a way, yes. But I don't really like that saying, you know, back in my days, it was saying, no, I think that's a kind of a negative way to see it, because I think that, let's say, the ability in the dancers on the floor today is so much higher than when we danced. You know, the physical preparation of the bodies, the strength, the speed, all of these things are definitely much better. But I think people are slightly confused all the time. And I think that's why sometimes that they don't get their own personal character out, because there are very strong characters that are teaching them. And these characters sometimes can maybe talk too much about their preferences rather than trying to really teach the principle. And because of that, the dancers feel somehow that maybe they have to please these strong characters by moving in a certain way or doing it in a certain way. And rather than using the principle, and from that principle, their own personal style comes out. You know, when I think back to the generation before me, in the final, when you had Brian and Alan Tornsberg, and you had Hans Galker, you had Jukka Happelainen and Paul Killick, Jason Gilkinson, you know, they like, and of course the ladies. I only mentioned the men, but of course the ladies, you know, incredible ladies, right? When I look back at it, every single one had such a clear idea about who they were as dancers, but pretty much all of them had the same teacher. So somehow they're focusing on being on the principle of movement, give more space for their own characters to come out.
So like sometimes people say the more restrictions you have, the more freedom, right? Something like that.
Yes. Well, the thing is with anything, that if you're taught principle or movement in the beginning, it's very difficult, and it feels difficult, and you feel no freedom because it's difficult. So you feel a little bit like you're in a straitjacket. But in the end, those restrictions, those limitations that you set up inside the body by mechanical understanding, is what gives you freedom afterwards. And I somehow think a little bit that has gone away a little bit in the industry, in both the ballroom and the Latin, actually. You know, everything is a little bit bigger, stronger. It's a little bit more sportive, even though we still don't want to be a sport.
Yeah, on steroids, right?
Yeah.
So, Klaus, based on what you're telling me, if I had to walk into a studio and see you teaching a lesson, what would I hear and what would I see?
Yeah, you wouldn't hear anything because I don't speak loud at the best of times, right? So you definitely wouldn't hear anything, and you'd see the couple going like that, trying to listen to what I'm saying. Yeah, I think that you'd see something that's quite intense and based on on principle, and you'd probably see some sort of a thing about partnering as you're doing it. That's what I think you'd probably see when you came in. But you definitely wouldn't have like the music blasting out loud and me screaming and shouting. That I can be quite sure.
So you talk about partnering, and when I think of you guys, that's something that I think was a very strong sort of trait. I mean, like if you had to sort of fantasize it, it would be kind of like the knight in shining armor and the princess. You know, I mean that in a positive way. You know, when I see the sort of the picture, you know, like man, woman, but classic. So, like, did you guys intentionally do that? Was that something that you worked on? Was it just happened, or did you kind of understand that you were known for that, or?
I somehow, it's very strange, but you know, when I had the tryout with Victoria, we danced for about 20 minutes, and then we spoke for 5 hours afterwards, and that was pretty much clear. Yes, we want to dance together, but somehow, even when I danced with her for those 20 minutes, it was almost like I could see the end result. And it was definitely with partnering. I think that we both had a big passion about it, and we were both quite crazy about it. We also used to practice a lot, long hours, and we used to argue a lot because everything was about partnering, and if it wasn't 100% perfect, then it was off. Right? So
yeah.
So I think that it was something that it was the passion that we both had, and we felt it from the beginning. And of course, then we had to also intellectualize it, and because partnering is something personal in many ways, right? So I always say you have to partner on all levels, like physical, mental, emotional. You have to be a partner on all those levels. And the only way you can partner really well is, first of all, you have to be able to move well yourself. So there was always a lot of work on the mechanical ability to move, and then to try and make that perfect also inside the partnering sensation.
You guys did fight a lot to practice?
Oh, a lot. But,
so what about
not very loud? It was always more under the
passive aggressive. So what about now when you dance with each other or do shows or lectures and stuff? Do you still fight, or is it? Oh
yeah.
Is there different?
we do these camps with Corneline before, and we invited Victoria to come to one of the first ones. Actually, she did a lecture, and so she arrived to London. This is when I was still living in London, and she was staying at the apartment. And she arrived to London, and she said, "Okay, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you, about the lecture." And then we got up, and then I did something with her in the living room, and then she was already like, "What are you doing? That's terrible." So then we're like, 10 minutes, and then we're arguing. And to the degree where at the end of things, just sat on the sofa and said, "I don't even know why I'm arguing with you. It's your lecture. You can do whatever you want." So no, we still argue, But
So you guys are still good friends. I mean, you have a good relationship.
Yes, of course. But she lives in Denmark, so we don't get to see each other as much as we should really. But I just spoke to her actually, just less than a week ago.
So Klaus, do you feel like there's something that sets you apart as a coach? Not necessarily that, of course, you're better than someone else or anything, but is there something that sets you apart? Like something, because my next question is going to be like, what are your strengths and weaknesses as a coach? Like, what do you really excel at, or you really enjoy, or you thrive on, and something that you don't really like, some topics you don't really like, or
I think that what I really like to work on, first of all, I don't like guest lessons so much. I'm not such a good guest teacher in many ways, because I think that when you work on things from principle, things move a little bit slow. So what I really like as a teacher is to build couples. You know, it means that you have to really teach them, right? You have to start with people. You know, I'm very proud that I've had some very good dancers who almost started having their first dance lessons from me and have made it all the way through the competitive career. I really enjoy that, the development. I don't do much choreography. I can do it, but I always say to the couples, I'm not as good at it as somebody else. So if you wanna spend the money, you should spend it wisely. So you know, you can get much better choreography in much less time from somebody else. Then that's a much better way to do it, I think. So what I really enjoy is to work with principle movement, mechanics, and partnering, which unfortunately are things that take time. So in that sense, it's been, you know, I didn't say, I don't think it's right to say I don't like guest lessons. Actually, I quite enjoy a guest lesson when everybody understands that this is how we work. What I always struggle a little bit with is the first lesson. Yeah. Whenever you have a couple that comes to the door and they want to work with you and you want to help them, and you have the first lesson, and you are basically putting so much pressure on yourself because you want to give these couple an experience so they walk away thinking that they really learned something. But you know, the first lesson is almost like it's like a first date. Everybody is nervous, only showing the best sides of themselves, and you know, they are thinking what's he thinking about them. And I'm thinking, what are they thinking about me? And, you know, everybody's really nervous about that. And yet
they only want to show their best dance, and you know.
Yeah, and you're still trying to give them something so they can walk away and thinking, okay, I've learned something. There's something I can do here. And in reality, it takes like a good 6-8 lessons before you get anywhere. You know, before you get to know them, they get to know you. There's a little bit of a relaxed feeling, and you can actually start working together.
And then Klaus, as a person, what is your strength as a human? What is your weakness?
As a human being, I think my strengths are that I really like to get to the bottom of things. And I think I'm quite honest, but not really confrontational, but quite honest. I think that I'm good at taking, let's say, a lot of information and then funneling it down to one simple thing to do. So, which is when you have kids running around the whole day and you have issues to try and find, okay, well, this is happening. This is what we're gonna do. I think I'm quite good at that. I think that as I get older, I worry a little bit about myself that I might turn into my dad. You know. I find that I used to be more of a yes person, and somehow I feel that the older I get, I start to be much more of a little bit of a no man, you know, which I'm definitely trying to work on. I think coming back to the good things, I think I really like to have fun. I like to meet people, to talk with people, to get to know people. I like to drink, you know, so cheers to that.
Cheers. So Klaus, how do you handle stress and pressure?
I'm glad I put the glass down.
Well, you would have to whistle
that. Pretty well, actually. You know, in all through my life, you know, I don't really get stressed from many things. You know, I'm a good sleeper, or I used to be. Now I'm now after you had 2 kids, you just sleep very differently. But it's never a problem for me to fall asleep. I don't really change much with stress or not. Maybe I internalize the stress a little bit too much, but I'm not really the type that gets that crazy stressed.
Do you think it's a Danish thing? Do you think Danish people are less stressed? Honestly, I'm not. Colin's going to probably wet himself, but Sheila's saying no. You de-stress with Milas Rubicon or the chocolate block.
Oh, one of my favorite wines. Yeah, I miss South Africa and the Milas Rubicon. Oh, and I miss Sheila's patio from the studio. What was the question again, Jay?
We were saying, I was talking about, are Danish people just less stressed in general?
No, I don't think so. I think we have the same issues as everybody else. I think that, again, Danish people like to have everything in the system. So we like to systemize everything, which sometimes can give you a lot of stress, actually. But I think that but Danish people are very stubborn. Very stubborn. We always it's very difficult to change our mind, and because of that, we always think that we are right. So we always kind of easy for us to move ahead in the same direction and not get, or at least not get too stressed about these things. But I think Danish people sometimes, again, internalize things too much or intellectualize things too much, and because of that, sometimes all the stress is held inside.
Klaus, seeing as Sheila's online, and obviously we all know that we've all helped and done work for the Dance to Be Wild charity and stuff like that. Just tell us a little bit about like your story with South Africa and how you came about there, and a little bit about the the rhinos and stuff like that, because a lot of people don't know about it. So
I went to South Africa the first time 12 years ago, I think, to teach, and Katja, my wife, came with me on this first trip, and it was honestly the most fantastic trip. I know a lot of South African people. I always really like the people, and then I like the country, and they like me, and I started coming to teach about twice a year, and through that I got to know Sheila, and started teaching also at Sheila's studio. And Sheila is a very passionate lady, and especially when it comes to conservation and animals, she's very, very unique and special. And she introduced me to this idea of Dance to Be Wild, which was just in the very beginning at that time. And she showed me some horrific videos, of course, of what happens to the rhinos and the poaching, and the way they hack off the horns. And it was just impossible not to feel something and get involved. So I said to her straight away, that how can I help? How can we help? And it ended up being, it's just been incredible to, first of all, what Dance to Be Wild do is that they work on many levels, but they mainly work to raise the awareness also in the population, or let's say in the townships, where there's very little money, and very little understanding of the wildlife heritage that South Africa has. So most of the Black South Africans have never seen a rhino. And I'm telling you, we met some incredible people that run rhino orphanages. When the rhino, when they poach a rhino, very often they have a calf, and they shoot the mother, the calf runs away. So effectively, the 2 rhinos die. So what happens is that the minute that there's a rhino has been shot, this call goes out, and these rangers come in and they look for the baby rhino, and hopefully they can save it and then take it to an orphanage where they then raise it. So what we did when we were there, we ended up going with Sheila to the townships, and see these kids that, you know, they walked for an hour to come and dance, and, you know, we had 40 kids there doing jive on a concrete floor with they didn't have shoes, you know, they didn't have shoes. And yet, when we finished, they had made us a little present, and they'd taken a cardboard and drawn on it and made a little rhino especially, and pulled down some, you know, those little beads that hang as room dividers. They probably pulled down one of the mom's beads and made a thing around it. I mean, they were just amazing. So Sheila does an incredible job. She spends a lot of her time and, you know, a lot of her own money to run this charity, and it's incredible. You know, the idea was to have a
to the orphanage, the baby rhino. You actually went to the orphanage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which was also a big thing. We had to give our passports and nobody knows where it is, right? Because if the criminals knew where it was, they'd come in there and try and get the rhinos from there too. So the original idea was to run a big event in South Africa for Dance to Be Wild, and to have to raise money like that. Of course, it's a difficult time. It's a difficult time in South Africa. The financial situation of the country is not good. So, you know, but this is not really a South Africa problem. This is a world problem. You know, if my children end up growing up in a world where there's no rhinos left because people shot them to make money, that I think is then we really, as a human race, we have failed.
So Klaus, just on just me being South African, obviously I'm very interested in all those things. So how is it in Hong Kong? Do you ever feel anything like that with ivory and rhino horns and stuff? Do you ever see it? Do they talk about it? Is it publicized, or because that's what you hear that a lot of the stuff goes, pangolin, rhino, elephant. So have you ever encountered it?
No, never. I've never seen anything of it in Hong Kong. And also when I go to China, when I speak to the people there, none of them, because, you know, effectively they believe that it's medicinal, right? They believe that it can cure cancer, or it's good for your hangover. Where a rhino horn is the same as your fingernail. I always say this: if you really feel that, you could chew your nails a little bit more, you know. But even when I speak to the couples that I teach in China, they don't know of it. Their parents don't know of it. So it's very difficult to say exactly where this is happening. Vietnam, China is sort of two major places for it, but for the use of it. But I have never encountered it. And of course, it is illegal. You know, the people who deal in rhino horn are the same people that transport drugs and human trafficking. And it's you know, it's multinational syndicates.
Yeah. Domin is saying hi. Sheila is saying Klaus is just a superstar with helping us.
Domin, I really like the videos you're putting on Facebook lately. They're super.
Yeah, I agree too, Domin. Very nice. A little bit of dark history. Yeah. Soon Klaus will be on there.
In black and white.
So, Klaus, would you want your children to dance? Would you encourage them to dance?
Well, they dance all the time at home. I want my children to be happy. If they want to dance,
like in our world.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I want my children to be happy. So if they want to dance, I will definitely support them to dance. It's not something that I'm actively going to push them to do. Actually, very often when I say that, people always say, "But why? You know, why you dance? So why don't you want them to dance?" And I go, "Yeah, but my dad didn't dance. My father, as we said, he had a seafood export company, you know, and I became a dancer. It's, you know, it's sometimes I don't think it's good if you do the same business as your parents. You know, I think probably my father was a bit disappointed that none of the kids wanted to take over the company, but he was very supportive. And I think the same way. And there's one more thing, you know, our world, even though it's amazing, our dance world, it's also very small. And I think it's a little bit complicated sometimes because, let's say, when my kids finally, my boys are old enough to compete, maybe you are not dancing anymore, but you are a judge. And now you have to judge my sons. Now, no matter what, that's a little bit uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
It is. In the end of the day, something there that is. So, honestly, and let's say that they are really good and they make it, will they always be thinking, oh, they only make it because, it was all dad's friends who was judging? So I would much rather that they do something else, actually. But if they really want to dance, I would support it 100%.
And Klaus, maybe you haven't decided this, but I mean, obviously you are a very international man. Denmark, London, USA, Hong Kong, you name it. Where do you see yourself ending up? Have you decided, or are you just rolling with it?
I always saw myself in Charlotte, right?
Oh yeah. Well, if anybody doesn't know, Klaus has family in Charlotte, and it's a great place. So your next lesson might be in Charlotte.
It was actually it's been so nice to reconnect with the family, also for coming and seeing you and really reconnecting with the whole family over there. I've been a very strong connection in Charlotte. I think it's the most beautiful place. Even when Lena went to
Lena agrees with you, but not
to move here.
I don't like Texas.
But I don't know. To be honest with you, right now we're very happy in Hong Kong, and the kids are doing great here. But it's a different lifestyle here because the Hong Kong has everything, but not a lot of space. So my mom, when she came, she always said it's like people live on shelves. Everything is filled up, and I'd like the kids to be able to go out and ride the bicycle and things like that I did in my childhood. So I personally think that we will end up in North America. Exactly where or how, I'm not sure. But it's not like I'm thinking about it now. I don't want to live my life like that. I live here very happily. I have a great life here.
Okay, so Klaus, obviously you're from Denmark. This is a little bit of the end, like a quick fire, just where there's brief answers. If you want to elaborate, that's absolutely fine. Maybe there's a funny story or something, or you up to you. You can plead the fifth if you don't want to answer. But so let's go. What is the best thing about Denmark?
The sweets, the candy.
The candy.
Yeah,
I like the mask.
My family is there.
The family? What's the best thing about Hong Kong?
The convenience.
Best thing about South Africa?
The people.
Best thing about USA?
The best thing about the USA.
Don't say Donald Trump.
Then you get 50% going yes and 50% no. Best thing about USA, I think the positivity.
The best thing about England?
Fish and chips.
Yeah. The worst thing about Denmark?
The worst thing about Denmark, the stubbornness.
The worst thing about Hong Kong?
Pollution.
The what, sorry?
Pollution. The air pollution.
Oh, the pollution, sorry. The worst thing about South Africa?
Poaching. The fact that they kill the animals.
The worst thing about the USA?
The worst thing about it, you say, the division that's going on right now, the political tone, the stuff that we get to follow on TV, that's the worst.
The worst thing about England?
And the rain.
Camille is asking the best thing about Canada.
Vancouver.
The worst thing about Canada?
I'm not going to say Toronto, don't worry, Camille, because Camille's in Toronto. The worst thing about Canada, I don't really know what's the worst thing about Canada, but it's always crazy to me that whenever I go to Canada, I always think it's just so nice. Or especially Vancouver, I think it's just the most beautiful place. But then whenever I meet the people, they always talk about how they want to live somewhere else. So I never really understood that.
What's your favorite travel destination?
South Africa.
And what piece of travel advice would you give to anybody going there?
Go to South Africa.
What sort of travel advice would you give them for if someone has never been before?
Make sure you talk to the people. Make sure you talk to the locals.
I want you to say the most American thing you can think of in an American accent.
How y'all doing?
Okay, can you say the most British thing you can think of in a British accent?
Want a cup of tea?
Can you say the most Danish thing you can think of in a Danish accent?
Oh, the most Danish thing. You have to use some almost Danish words then. That's really terrible.
What is a talent that you wish that you had?
Oh, singing.
What is your favorite band of all time?
People are not going to believe this, but anyway, Metallica.
Nice. Ballroom or Latin?
Latin.
Rhythm or smooth?
Oh, smooth.
So tell me, how do you see, like, what are your thoughts about the difference with ballroom and Latin? How do you see it?
Well, I think okay. I love ballroom. I love good ballroom. I think it's amazing. I was one of the guys that would always make sure, when we used to dance in under 21 on Saturdays, I would still stay to watch the pro ballroom. These finals when you had Margus and John, Augusto, Andrew. Those dancers were just amazing. I think the ballroom got lost a little bit in trying to get everything bigger and stronger and faster, and somehow lost that feeling. And I used to watch just the way that they would close their feet. It was just an amazing thing. And somehow that people now close their feet and they're not busy with it. They close their feet because they're busy to do the next thing. I think in Latin we have had somehow we've been able to have a little bit of the same thing going on now. I think this happened in ballroom a little bit earlier. We have a little bit of the same thing going on in Latin now, I think. And I worry about it. So that's really how I see the difference.
And what about rhythm versus smooth? What are your impressions on that?
I just think that smooth is such a definite style. I really I actually love smooth. Since I came to America the first time when I watched it in competition, I was blown away by it. And I think it has, of course, more freedom than the ballroom because you can break hold and do it, But what I love about it is that the style is so definite somehow, And within that style, the couples look very different. Really, really different. They all have something that they're good at, and they focus on it. Somebody maybe is a little bit more the original ballroom. They have experience of that. Somebody came from a Latin background, but now they found a way to incorporate that. So all the couples seem to very strongly have their own style. And then I find all of them very musical. They really listen to the music. Rhythm I have a little bit of an issue with because I don't sometimes quite understand it as a style. Because I think they have the potential to be absolutely amazing. But for them to do that, they would have to take it more back to be more original of those dances that they do. And I guess again, because they compete, and somehow, I can't really see what's the idea, or is it really, are they really doing a mambo, or is it sort of choreographed thing, really doing the cha-cha. If they do the cha-cha, do they do it on a straight leg or a bent leg? And there's so many question marks afterwards that I find it a little bit confusing. Great dancers. There's some really good dancers in the section. Really amazing. But the whole style I find a little bit not definite. And you know, as a Danish person, that's very difficult for us, right? I can't put it into a box. So it makes me want to pull out my hair.
Klaus, what is something that you still have from your childhood?
I still have my first shoe.
Your first shoe?
Yeah.
Dance shoe?
No,
no, your first baby.
The very first shoe.
Okay. What's your favorite color?
I'll go say the same as my son. Black.
What's your worst color?
Worst color?
Least favorite?
Like a burgundy color. It doesn't come in a glass.
That's why you drink it. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
How do you take it?
I like espresso, so black.
Who is your role model?
I don't think I have one.
What about
if I could have if I could put them all together, I'd have to combine them. You know, I think my mom is amazing. My dad is not so well, and my mom is with him, and I think she's handling it absolutely amazing. So if I have to say anything, I would say mom.
So Klaus, if we take time, we fast forward 100 years, and you look back, and there's one trend that is current or something that we do that you could eradicate from humanity or society, what would it be?
Reality TV.
Klaus, what is your spirit animal?
I think maybe the eagle, actually.
Nice. If you had a different career besides dancing, what would you have chosen?
If I hadn't danced, I'd probably be a lawyer. You know, I was in law school when I decided to stop and move to London and dance.
What's your favorite app at the moment?
House Party.
Favorite website?
Careful. My favorite website is probably, I mean, it's the Danish news, like a Danish newspaper.
If you had one superpower, what would it be?
I'm not sure. No, I don't know. I used to watch Heroes. Have you ever seen that show?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
I want to be
at
that.
The beginning.
Yeah. Then the writers strike. It just ended with nothing. It was like such a shame. Anyway, I want to be that Peter guy.
The which guy?
Peter one. The one who can take all the superpowers.
So what's the best thing about marriage?
Best thing about marriage is not having to explain because you already know.
What's the worst thing about marriage?
Not having to explain because you already knows. It's the fact that you know.
By the way, Frank Deal says that you should have said Katja for your role model.
Oh yes, yeah.
What's the hardest thing you've ever done in your life?
No.
There's a few. I think saying goodbye to my grandparents.
What's your favorite swear word? Peace, Lord.
Yeah, biscuit.
If your life had a song title, what would it be?
Always look at the bright side of life.
If you had to have coffee with a historical figure, who would it be?
Winston Churchill.
If you had to have dinner with a current celebrity, who would it be?
Robert Downey Jr.
What's your favorite food?
Pasta.
Least favorite?
I eat everything, as you can see.
But is there something that you just hate, or you just don't like at all?
That I really hate, actually. Oh yeah. Okay. Durian, the fruit that smells.
The fruit.
Yeah.
What do you love on pizza?
What do I love on pizza?
Yeah.
My favorite pizza is prosciutto, rucola, and parmesan.
So if Klaus Kongsdal had a cocktail, what would the name of the cocktail be?
I had one for our wedding. For our wedding, we had wanted fireworks, and I was like, no. So what we did was we flew a mixologist over from London, quite like an amazing guy, and he gave us like a 20-page questionnaire about our likes and tastes and whatever. And he made, so it's for cocktail hour at the wedding. He made 3 cocktails. He made a Katja cocktail and a Klaus cocktail and a Katja and Klaus cocktail together. And my cocktail was an old-fashioned, but he had herbs that he was smoking on the barbecue, and then he infused the herbs into the thing when he did it. So I'm gonna have to go with that one. But he kind of made it like a because in Copenhagen we have this place called Christiania that's very famous because people go there to buy weed. So the police don't control it and they buy weed there and smoke. So he kind of made it as this is the Danish version of the old fashioned.
But if it actually had a name, if you had to give it a title, anything, would you give it anything?
Strong and kind.
Strong and kind. What's the most exciting thing that's ever happened to you in your life?
The birth of my children.
So obviously being a competitor all your life and then switching over to teaching and coaching and judging, what was the thing you were shocked at most when you started judging?
The feeling that you make a decision and then you have to, and how can you say, the weight of it, the gravity of the fact that you're making this decision of people, because you know as all of you who compete, I spent my whole life doing this and it was my whole life. So having to judge people positively or negative, especially negatively, people that I like or people that but have to judge them negatively because of the dancing, I think that was quite hard. And then the fact that you make decisions and you have to make them very fast, and then you have to spend the next 2 or 3 days going over them in your head and keep questioning if you made the right choice or
not. What's your best way to decompress?
To have a drink and talk to a good friend.
Jogging or swimming?
Jogging.
Gym or Pilates?
Gym.
Window or aisle seat?
Actually, funny enough,
what do you love about the dance world?
I love the fact that dancing can take you somewhere else. Dancing can change the mood of the person watching. Dancing can. I judged in Japan at the Asian tour just before everything closed, and it was one of those things where we're all going. Should we not go, or should we not go, or it's safe? And all the audience had to wear face masks, and there was sanitizers everywhere, and it was a little bit sort of a nervous situation. We got to the last jive in the pro final, and somehow the couples who also had been nervous, they just went for it like crazy, and the audience went for it. It was just like this change of atmosphere from this very tense feeling, and suddenly everybody was immense feeling of freedom and celebration. I thought that's exactly what dancing can do.
And Klaus, what do you dislike most about the dance world?
That competition, or being in competition, changes people.
What are your thoughts on the competitors of today?
I think they're amazing. I think they are the dedication and the drive, the push. Even now, when we're in lockdown, to see how much work they're doing with themselves. For me, that's amazing.
What is your favorite dance?
Rumba.
Least favorite?
Samba.
What are your thoughts on the direction of, that the dance world is moving?
I hope maybe this situation, when we do come out into the world again, I hope that maybe everybody will remember how amazing the dance world is, and that everybody will perhaps stay strong on their principles, but at the same time try to do what's best for the dance world, not always just what they think is best for themselves.
Okay, so and this, when I ask you these, it's about retired people and people in the past. So like, not current people, let's say. So who do you feel from the past was the most underrated dancer or underrated couple? Like someone like really good in your opinion that never made it or never won anything, or you know what I mean? Someone in your eyes.
So we want to support you guys. So we're going to do
let me think.
So
They did win, but I think that maybe people. There's a couple I always used to love to watch in Blackpool was Jason Gilgerson and Peter.
So again, historically, who was your favorite female dancer of all time? Maybe someone from the past, or competitor, someone growing up, like a role model, or someone.
Favorite female.
Female, yes.
Female dancer. No, Gaynor.
And male.
We want to do like a little bit of a fundraiser for that law. So we're going to feature desserts or
Alan Torres. I have to say, because growing up, there was who I watched.
I want to do something.
What's your favorite fashion trend?
It's going to look like a little sheep. That's what we try to do.
It's funny. I used to be quite into shopping, and I really used to like shopping and fashion, and followed it. And now I don't know. I guess it's age or having kids, but somehow now I'm a little bit less interested. So now I really like a nice suit, a nice cut suit.
And what for you is the worst fashion trend of all time?
I don't know. Like it's even coming back a little bit now. The white socks from the 80s, the white socks up and the short and slippers.
Yes. What is your pet peeve in dancing? Something that you just cannot stand in dancing?
It's Oh, it's when in a business, it's when people try to do something with their shoes on the floor, like put the sweat under their shoes or spit under their shoes. Or awful.
Okay, so what about in life, outside of the dance floor? Do you have a pet peeve, something that just gets your skin crawling or just like gets you?
When I hate people lying, or I hate people pretending. You know, when if they don't have the if they don't have the ability, they don't have the thing, but they still pretend. That really drives me crazy.
What would you like to see more of in the dance world?
More being honest to yourself, more using the principles to find your own way to dance, less worried about what you think that everybody else wants you to do, and more staying true to yourself, but from a principle point of movement.
What would you like to see less of in the dance world?
Less fighting.
Or on the dance floor, you could say.
On the dance floor. I would like to see a little bit less bigger outward movement and a little bit more subtlety and connection to the partner.
So do you prefer teaching or judging?
Teaching.
Do you have a funny story about the worst lesson you ever taught?
Yeah, I taught a lesson in Japan once, and it was a long day, and this was my last lesson. And you know, the whole language situation in Japan had not been great, so I had a day when pretty much it felt like they were not understanding me. And then the last lesson felt really good. I really had the feeling that they were with me and they got it, and so and we did about half an hour, and then I said to them, I'm terribly sorry, I have to go to the bathroom, so would you excuse me? And they were like, yes, no problem. And so I walked right through the studio all the way down, and I got to the door of the bathroom, I turned around, and the couple was still behind me. So they obviously hadn't understood a word of what I'd said the whole lesson.
Okay, chocolate or vanilla?
Ooh, vanilla.
Coffee or wine?
Wine.
Red or white?
Oh, you see, I always used to be red 100%, but actually the last year I have gravitated towards white.
Bourbon or whiskey?
Whiskey.
Beach or mountain?
Beach.
Salty or sweet?
Sweet.
What's one thing you always bring with you to competitions?
Nowadays, a pen.
Who's your favorite actor?
Favorite actor. Christian Bale.
Favorite actress?
Scarlett Johansson. Let's just say her. Maybe not for her acting.
So, okay, and you don't answer this if you don't want to, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So say things, obviously Victoria clearly is your dream partner. So just take her out of the equations. If going back, maybe some great female dancer from the past, is there someone, like, in your opinion, could have been a dream partner for you, or someone you feel like you could have liked to dance with?
Wow, that's very difficult. I never really thought that way. Maybe not, but if you could take, if you could put them together with a few different, like take this from this one and this from that one, then maybe yes. But I never actually thought about it that way.
What is one thing you wish dancers paid more attention to?
Doing more of the simple things. not necessarily simple meaning easy, but the simple principles of things.
What is the most dangerous thing you've ever done in your life?
Not really. I'm not really.
What's that?
I'm not really very much of a daredevil like that. And marrying my wife.
Still dangerous.
Yeah, every day.
Klaus, so for you, what's the best part about teaching and coaching, in your opinion? What's the best part
I
of it
think
for
the
you?
best part of that clearly is that you get to meet and work with these unbelievably talented, dedicated dancers, or anyone who loves dancing. And the fact that once you get to know them, you get to help them along the journey. I think that is it's something very unique, and it's something I'm very, very thankful for, actually.
And the worst part about coaching or teaching, or something you hate about it? Is there some, in your point, something that you really dislike?
No, I think the worst part of it sometimes is that that when you start dancing, you dance because you love it, and then it becomes your job. And that transition sometimes can be a little bit difficult because, a job you have to do whether you want to or not. So the realization that, even those days when you're maybe not quite feeling your best, you still have to go and teach 10 lessons. That's very hard. It's very hard. I always say to my friends from law school, I still see them sometimes. I always say to them that my job is much harder than theirs. Some of them are partners in big law firms now, and they always laugh at me. But when you think about it, if you teach 10 lessons, there's hardly ever in any lesson a moment when you're not 100% switched on.
Yeah.
So I find that at the end of a teaching day, you can feel quite empty. You've given a lot. And so sometimes I really need like a good 45 minutes just to get over it, to find myself again.
Do you have any pets? Don't say Katja.
No, we don't have any pets. My son wants a lizard.
Oh, wow. So, Klaus, how are you really feeling these days?
I feel good. I feel with all of this stuff that's been going, it's been a very interesting experience because in the first 10 days of when everything was closing down, I had it was great. We were calling all our friends around the world, FaceTiming everybody, seeing them, catching up. It was really nice. And then I feel a little bit like I hit a hole. It was like everything stopped, and I just had these days when I really had no energy, no motivation. Everything was just in zero, I felt. And that lasted for about 10 days also. And once that finished, suddenly I had this burst of energy and inspiration, and I felt like super switched on, the brain, everything. I did some online courses for things. I started another business separate from dancing. I was thinking a lot about dancing. Everything was switched back on. So now I feel really excited and motivated.
Klaus, what has been your biggest learning curve or your biggest lesson that you've learned in life?
That you're going to meet all kinds of people as you go through it. You're going to meet people who are extremely nice, people who are not nice, people who make a lot more money than you, people who make less money than you, people more educated, people less educated. But that somewhere inside all of that there's some sort of essence. And if you can really stay true to yourself, then that's really the goal of everything.
Nice. If you had to go back in time and give a piece of advice to your 13-year-old self, what would it be?
Don't be afraid.
No, we don't get.
And if you now, yourself in 13 years' time, so when you're about 87,
Everything.
What piece of advice would you, or what would you say to yourself in 13 years time, knowing what you know now, like, so yourself in the future after, you know, let's say 13, 15 years, what would you say to yourself?
Well, make sure you spend time with your kids.
And last but not least, what inspires you?
What inspired me, I think, people, helping people, motivated people around me. I think that's what inspired me the most.
Nice. Well, that's pretty much it from me. I know it was about an hour and a half, which I guess is pretty long, but you know, we having fun. That's all that counts,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it's really been nice to catch up with you, and you know, just to have a little chat and a couple of interesting questions. And
It's nice. You know, I haven't seen you in a long time. It's nice to have that opportunity to catch up here. I think it's a really good idea. It's great what you're doing, and I'm super excited to come and see your restaurant. I think that's really amazing for you guys. I know how much you love food and the vegan lifestyle, and I think it's absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, we've got everything waiting for you. Don't worry. We make sure we got the big reds and the you know stuff. But yeah, so just from everybody watching, thanks for joining in. We know you're all super busy and have these hectic schedules and appointments and whatnot. So you know, we appreciate you tuning in. This will be posted on.
It was so nice when you saw the names popping up on the side. You know, there are people that I haven't seen in a long time, and with everything that's going on. So I just want to say, you know, I think all of you, it's really nice to see you.
Yeah, I see Bianca says hello. I think Carmen might have been watching.
Hi, Bianca. I love Bianca. I really liked your online lessons, or the things you did with the samba. I thought it was really cool.
Yes, I saw that too. I thought it was excellent, and definitely use that for teaching and for ourselves. But yeah, so the series will continue. I really appreciate Klaus's time. It's past midnight there. So the party's either starting or he's going to bed.
Oh, I'm definitely going to bed.
We're just getting going here. But yeah, like I say, I really appreciate it. I know everybody's busy and got families and whatnot, but I just, you know, thought it's a nice little piece of fun to pass the time and, you know, get to know each other a little bit better. And sometimes you're always in lessons and you're always so serious and doing things that it's nice to actually, you know, talk to people and get to know them and actually connect on the human level. Because for me, we're all human beings. So sometimes I feel in the dance hall, everybody puts up these appearances and has all these other agendas. And at the end of the day, everybody loves dancing. We just want to enjoy ourselves, have fun, and connect with people. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I enjoy. So our next guest on Sunday will be the one and only Lena James.
Right.
She has agreed to use the dirt on Colin and Klaus and everybody else. And yeah, so we'll see how long the lockdown goes for. But I plan to continue every second day or so. So would love to chat with Carmen and Bianca and everybody else and people like Greg the vet and stuff. So yeah, if there's anybody that I haven't thought of that doesn't feel like they know me, feel free to send me a message and we can get it going. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. Klaus, cheers.
Okay, cheers, buddy.
So good. You say hi to Katya and the kids and everyone.
I will do.
And thanks for tuning
in. Thanks a lot. Say hi to Aliona.
Take care, hey. Bye.
Bye now.